Hi everybody, it's Jennifer and welcome to the second edition of our property management newsletter. You should be receiving this just after Thanksgiving, so I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and did not eat too much. Last month we looked at the new laws about radon disclosure and testing, as well as reasonable accommodations and modifications. I received calls from a few of you with questions about recommendations for radon testing companies, so I hope those tests came in really low. And if anybody else needs help, please feel free to call me or text me. This month we're going to look at two more laws passed in the 2023 Colorado legislative session. The first involves Senate Bill 23-184, which addresses how we vet our tenants, while the second bill, HB 23-1068, deals with pets. Let's start with Senate Bill 23-184. This bill changes some of the requirements and rules around screening prospective tenants. Traditionally, we have been able to pull credit histories as far back as we saw fit. This new bill limits the time frame we can look to 7 years of history. Now, my initial reaction to this was pretty negative, but after doing some research and talking to some of the lenders I work with, it seems like 7 years is a decent time frame. A 7-year credit history should cover enough significant financial events in a person's life to get a sense of whether or not they pay their bills or not. Also, before we were able to use 650 as a minimum on credit scores, we now need to move that number down to 625. This bill also addresses income requirements. Traditionally, we have looked for the tenants to earn 300% of their annual rent in order to qualify. This bill changes that number to 200%. If the tenant is part of a rental assistance program, they must earn 200% of the portion of the rent they are responsible for. This is important because rental assistance is becoming a big part of the rental market. This one makes me a little nervous. This means that our credit research and follow-up with references are even more important. Security deposits are also addressed in this bill. We cannot charge more than 2 times the advertised security deposit amount, and we call these double deposits. Generally, we only ask for a double deposit if the tenant has some characteristics that don't quite meet our requirements, but they seem to be a good match in every other category. If the tenant ends up being a bad choice, the double deposit gives us enough time to get the ball rolling on the eviction process without our clients feeling any really negative impact. Now we're keeping our eye on this one because the eviction process has also changed, and we don't even know how long evictions will take under these new laws. We'll cover the new eviction laws in a future newsletter. Section 6 of this bill deals with discrimination, and it empowers tenants to use discrimination as a legal defense in an eviction proceeding. This can expose the landlord to significant damage if the tenant is not handled in a fair and equitable manner. In order to avoid any fair housing or discrimination issues, we follow a strict set of guidelines when dealing with our clients in order to avoid these types of issues. The next bill I want to talk about is House Bill 23-1068. This bill deals with pets and rental properties. The primary focus of this bill is on pet fees. Traditionally, we've been able to charge whatever we saw fit for pet deposit, pet fees, or pet rent. Apparently, there were a lot of complaints about shady characters gouging tenants with really high pet rents and deposits. So the legislature stepped in and decided to put ceilings on what we were able to charge for pets. The pet deposit is now limited to no more than $300 each and must be refundable. Pet rent is capped at no more than $35 a month or 1.5% of the rent, whichever is greater. We've decided to go the pet rent route. We know the pet can do some type of damage, so rather than fight over refundable deposit, we will just use the rent to handle any issues. If the damage is more than the pet rent can cover, the tenant is still liable for those damages, and we would go to a general security deposit to cover any of those losses. Of course, if the cumulative damages are greater than the pet rent and of the deposit combined, we would go to the tenant for the balance. Emotional support animals and service animals are not considered pets because of the Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. We are not allowed to charge pet rent, pet fees, pet deposits, anything. They are treated like people. The same rules do apply to these animals, though, in terms of a responsibility for damages. The tenant is still responsible for any damages caused by the animal, no matter what designation the animal carries. So that's it in a nutshell as far as these two laws are concerned. If you want to dig into a lot more detail about these new laws, you can visit our blog and read more. The link is in the newsletter. We're going to look at another set of laws next month. We have finished our furnace and interior inspections, and you should have received a status update on your property. Please let us know if you have not seen yours yet. Also, as we head into the end of the year, please make sure your mailing address is correct on the portal. We want to make sure the 1099s go to the right place and in time for our favorite day, preparing for taxes. Hope you're getting something out of these newsletters, and I'll see you next month with more helpful information.